And this is a very, very important message which is emerging from here. So I would like you to look at coronavirus, COVID-19, as a great disruptor. And like businesses get disrupted, it has disrupted every aspect of our life. Nothing is going to be the same. Everything is going to change, and everything must change. And it must change for the better. Therefore, even if the best corona vaccines are invented, they still will be inadequate. The vaccine we require is innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, the best vaccine against corona or any other social digital pandemic may come later on is innovation, innovation, innovation. If we are innovative, we will survive and we'll be happy. If we are not innovative, there's very little, the future is very, very, very dim and gloomy. Therefore, we need to look at the impact of corona, even when the vaccine comes in there. Till the whole world becomes innovative, the war will continue. And we will now have to live differently, work differently, think differently, love differently, relate to other people differently, and become different also. This is the time where we have come to know ourselves. We never knew ourselves. We were outdistanced from ourselves. We were alienated from ourselves. Everything, geography, chemistry, Donald Trump, everything, but we knew very little about ourselves. Corona has now enabled us to remind us. It's a pause button. It's a pause button that slow down and reconnect with yourself. I think this is the big thing that has happened there. So there are four big impacts. I mean, there are many impacts, but I'll only touch upon the four which actually relate to our school context. The first is that future workplaces are being transformed into war zones. It is the Beirutization, Middle Eastization, hotspotization of the world into our classrooms, into our hospitals, into our businesses, into our personal life. We are in a combat zone now. And this is a war. It's not a battle. It will continue for a long time. Maybe many, many years, many decades. Even Fortune 500 companies now today are in a startup mode. IBM is in a startup mode. So is Google. So is Accenture. So is Amazon. There's no guarantee they'll not collapse tomorrow. So everybody is in a startup mode. It's like Israel. Israel is a startup nation. They are ready to go. It's 8.5 million people. The adult population of about say 4 million people are ready to go to war in 4 hours. That is when young men and women are dating themselves. They're from the armed forces. They've got their automatic rifles with them at the dinner table on the table there. Get the code word, in 4 hours they will go into combat. The whole country is in a startup mode because they are living in a tough neighborhood. Ladies and gentlemen, coronavirus and what is going to happen in the future is a tough neighborhood. In a tough neighborhood, we have to be in a startup mode. And I think that is a very, very important thing to understand. While academics are important, undoubtedly they are important, they get you a foot in the doorway, but without innovation, without other competencies, those academic qualifications are meaningless. They're absolutely meaningless. Only about 20 to 26% of our IITs are employable in MNCs and premier Indian companies. And these are not my figures. These are figures by NASSCOM, by Narayan Murthy, by FICCI, by the Ministry of HRD. Only 26% are employable. So we have now arrived in the new age of innovation. The second aspect is about obsolescence. Ladies and gentlemen, knowledge, jobs, medicine, economy, politics, education, leadership, their shelf life is very limited. They're getting outdated even before you can even understand what they are. Take Moore's law. Moore's law says that it takes 24 months to double the computing power of a computer. Today, everything can change in 24 days, in 24 hours, 24 minutes. As I speak to you now, it can change. So, to be to deal with this obsolescence, we need to have those competencies to reskill ourselves, and we have to do it ourselves. There is no separate university or college or MOOC that is going to do it. We have to do it ourselves. We have to reskill ourselves, and we have to continuously reinvent ourselves. Only then will we be outliers. Only then will we survive. So that's the bottom line. The third thing I would say is the collapse of standardization. A model which is based on command control, hierarchy, titles, positions, and working in silos. Marketing works in a silo, they are not involved with R&D. R&D works in a silo, they are not involved with money. So everybody is working in their silos. I strongly believe, ladies and gentlemen, that standardization is the death of innovation. And all our systems and processes that we have today are for peacetime environments. In a war situation, we require different types of systems and processes. In peacetime, you can get your teams together, you can consult them, you can discuss with them, you can ask them to write papers, you can do analysis after analysis, although that will eventually lead to paralysis. But the fact is, in a wartime situation, you got to be very intuitive. That is system one thinking. System two thinking, which is a very deliberate form of thinking over there, possibly there is no time. You got to be very, very intuitive. You got to judge your intuitive capabilities. And therefore, we have to understand that there is a difference in speed and haste. Today, we are talking about now a leadership speed. That in a wartime situation, leaders have got to identify what is critical for them. Pareto's 80-20 principle doesn't work any function now. Pareto said that only 20% are the vital aspects in your life and 80% are their trivia. I would say today only 5% is critical. 95% is trivia. That is how generals and admirals and air marshals go to war. And we are at war now. We have to identify what is our critical, what is our 5%, and focus on it. That's what Swami Vivekananda said. Have one idea. Think about it, sleep about it, dream about it, just do it. With ruthless execution. That is how you go into war. If the enemy is up there firing at you, you can't be deciding what to do and get a meeting and have a conference to decide what is to be done. You have to react immediately. So speed of reaction, speed of feedback, speed in decision making, speed in thinking, speed. So we require speed leadership. This is a new system and process model for a wartime scenario. Fourthly, I would say that we are today witnessing the largest psychological experiment in human history. 7.2 or 7.3 billion people are going through this experiment. And it has got a lot of psychological dimensions, particularly in societies which are hierarchical like ours, an Asian society, very, very hierarchical. We're always looking over our shoulders and expecting somebody to give us the answer. Where initiative is not encouraged very much. In fact, initiative is curbed. Where creativity is looked down upon. And creativity is seen as an act of insubordination or being rude. I think we need to understand that we need to develop psychological immunity. In these hard times, we have to be mentally robust. We have to be psychologically proofed against all these dimensions of COVID-19 and what may happen and possibly will happen after COVID-19 is over. So we need to understand the toxic effects of isolation, of uncertainty, of fear of contagion, of financial worries and financial future do heavily have a heavy toll on the psyche of human beings. In Wuhan, 28% Chinese parents are suffering from serious psychological disorders. It's very natural. But if you prepare for it, if you're mentally prepared for it, and you train yourself for it, that's another subject by itself. We can have a separate discussion on that. It is possible to understand that adversity makes us better, it makes us stronger, it makes us more creative. It gives meaning to our life. And I think that is what should be our understanding. Suffering actually ceases to be a suffering. The the moment it finds meaning. And I think this is the important thing we need to understand. If we do that, we can turn a tragedy into a triumph. And that is what we attempt to do through our leadership philosophy at Indus. So the wartime model of schools, I'm talking about schools, and many of them are applicable in the corporation world also, in the official world. The purpose of education, which I told you earlier on, is to prepare a child not to get 100 out of 100 in chemistry and physics. That's an outdated idea. It is a totally outdated idea, and I think the earlier you junk it, the easier it is going to be. It should not be a millstone around your neck. There's nothing wrong in getting 100 out of 100. But by itself, it has got no value. You need to have much more than that. And that much more is that you need to have competencies. So the first model is that you have to have an entrepreneurial mind. You have to be entrepreneurial minded. There's a difference between being a leader and being an entrepreneur. All leaders are not entrepreneurs. Or rather, most leaders are not entrepreneurs, but all entrepreneurs are leaders. Therefore, I would say, I would redefine leadership. The new leader post COVID-19 is an entrepreneur. That is the new leader now in the 21st century, in the fourth industrial age that we are living now. And therefore, we believe in our reckoning, a wartime leader. That is what we got to be. We got to be wartime leaders. Peacetime leaders won't survive. We have to be future ready. Your child has to be future ready. And therefore, our commitment is that when your child graduates from the portals of Indus, she or he should be startup ready. To be startup ready after college is too late. That's the industrial age model. They have to be startup ready when they graduate from grade 12. That is the objective which Indus is working on. What are we doing about it? We are setting up a startup school from the next session on an experimental basis, where 30 children will be selected from grade 9, 10, 11, and 12. They will be mentored and apprenticed by the best brains in Bangalore, the best venture capitalists in India, the best entrepreneurs in India, and the most successful people from the Silicon Valley. And Bangalore is full of them. The Thai chapter in Bangalore is working with us. NASCOM is working with us. The Knowledge Park is working with us. And we are going to ensure that our children become entrepreneurs, not only the competencies, but all the intricacies of management, of scaling up, of incubating ideas, incubation centers over there, and how to market a product over there, how to present a proof of concept, how to develop prototypes. All these things your children are going to be exposed to. And they will do that simultaneously while they're doing their 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. They will be doing it along with their academics over there. So that is the model. Once successful, next year is going to be increased to 100. We have a leadership school at Kanakpura, the only of its kind in the world for children. We have a leadership curriculum that is formally taught to all children from age 3 onwards. It's about having a purpose in life. It's about deep reading, not reading, but deep reading, and goal setting. These are the three main traits of this curriculum. We have another animal coming on board, which again no school or university in the world has, a chief philosophy officer. She is a principal, an IB principal. She's from Bangalore. I mean, she was in our school before. And she will be advising me and the principals on the ethical dimensions of being an entrepreneur. While we were in Israel, we had a lot of exposure on the entrepreneurship of that country. As you know, the whole country is a startup nation. And the head of the space agency over there was also a professor in the Tel Aviv University. And when we were discussing entrepreneurism with him, he said that one of the key reasons why entrepreneurs fail is because they're not ethical. And ethical dimensions, he said, I will go to the extent of saying that 30% of your time in developing entrepreneurs should be spent on ethical dimensions. So we've got a chief philosophy officer who's coming on board exclusively for advising us and advising the children and their parents on the ethical dimensions of being an entrepreneur. We have the community school, which you must already be aware of for underprivileged children. And we have a very, very elaborate, extensive community outreach program. The second big aspect of the wartime model is innovation, and I've spoken to you a lot about it. It is the only vaccine against corona. Nothing else is going to work. After corona, something else will come. After that, something else will come over there. So we need to understand that those who are not innovative, they will perish. They'll have no political value. They will have no economic value. And as Yuval Harari, the famous Israeli historian, says, they'll be relegated to what is called the useless class. They'll be millstone around us, our society, our family, and everywhere over there. That is how fast the world is moving. Therefore, today we require that capability of innovation to be built in. Because we strongly believe that in the old age, industrial age, you had separately idea men and action men. The great man came up, or the great woman came up with a great idea, and her or his minions, they implemented that. Today, ladies and gentlemen, you need an idea man and an action man rolled into one, or an idea person and an action person rolled into one. The third is about personalization. The role of the teacher at Indus is changing. The role of the teacher at Indus is not to teach the subject only, it is to teach the child. Let me rephrase it for you. To teach the child and not the subject alone. To teach the child implies teaching competencies like innovation, like risk-taking, like empathy, like collaboration, like resilience, etc., etc. How to deal with failure, for example. And today, 90% of a teacher's time the world over, 90%, is spent in preparing for minimum 4 lessons the next day. Even if she's an expert in that, she has to spend time going through her notes. Homework assignments, formative assessments, summative assessments, managing the academic rigor processes like feedback processes from students, from teachers to students, to parents, campus duties. So at the end of the day, she has no time for your child. She has no time for your child. So we have now introduced teacher robots. Again, the first in the world. You may have seen it in the History Channel also now. And we have stepped up our production capabilities. These are made by us only. They are full-size human adult robots. And they work collaboratively with the teacher. So the robots take over this 90% routine and repetitive tasks. And the teacher now focuses on the concepts, on the relevance. And she focuses on developing the competencies of the child, primarily through design thinking process. So I think these are the big things which you must understand is about.
You may want to comment on Indus Training and Research Institute General. Do you want to
I'm coming about that? Coming to that, yeah. Therefore, today, the role of a leader outside the school is not only to enable the professional growth of his employees, of his vice presidents and his managers, as to how to do business, how to do risk management, how to do this, how to do that. Today, that role is changing. In addition to that, he has to personalize, or she has to personalize the self-growth of respective individuals and employees. Their spiritual growth, their philosophical growth, their emotional growth. So just knowing about business is not enough. So self-growth is possibly more important than professional growth. If self-growth is not there, professional growth cannot happen. Therefore, the role of the leader also, this new leader that I'm talking about, is also changing there. We again have an institute at on the campus, the Indus Training and Research Institute, only of its kind in the world. At a school level, we have it. And this is where we prepare pre-service training of teachers for international education, mainly for the IB. It's got a heavy IB orientation. And we are doing it in collaboration with the Birmingham City University. It's a 10-month long course, and a large number of people sign up for it. Surprisingly, nearly 36 to 40% are from the corporate sector
Yes.
who are now reskilling themselves. For whatever reason, either they're disillusioned or they're not happy with the corporate sector, they want to reskill themselves for a new life. That is how the message. Nearly 36 to 40% are from the corporate sector. They are from PhDs, they are data analysts, they are marketing experts, they're engineers, they are doctors, they're dentists, who are all
Legal experts.
legal experts. They're reskilling themselves. And ITARI, which is an acronym for the Indus Training and Research Institute, is also responsible for post-service, in-service training of teachers. And this is a very successful model. Nearly 40 to 42% of our teachers in Indus are from ITARI. And more than the pedagogical aspects about it, I think the important thing is that these 42% teachers who are coming from ITARI, they're coming with the Indus ethos and the Indus culture. It is culture and ethos which drives systems and processes. Culture drives the man and man drives the process. Processes are human driven. And human beings are driven by culture and ethos. Therefore, the culture and ethos of our belief systems are there. So that ensures permanency and assurance for the confidence in the parents that all the teachers also are on the same grid. And lastly, of course, I would say is the is the fact that um, the I've spoken to you about um, the wartime model. I've spoken to you about entrepreneurial mindedness. I've spoken to you about innovation, and I've spoken to you about personalization. I would like to close my talk with you, my interaction with you, by urging you to look at the positive aspects of coronavirus. As leaders, we are messengers of hope. We are not messengers of doom. Even in the most lousy situation, the worst situation that you can think of, there is hope and there is positivity. Let us look at coronavirus from a positive perspective. We believe that this is the greatest crucible experience, experiment that is happening in the world today. It is the greatest disruption that has ever taken place. Even more than the Great Depression, because in Great Depression it was only money which people are worried about. Here it is money and life both put together. This is going to force us to be innovative. Let me tell you, only the paranoid will survive. That is the title of Andy Grove, the founder of Intel. There was a famous book. If you haven't read it, I strongly recommend you read it. It's got relevance today and tomorrow. Only the paranoid survive. And only those who are innovative will survive. Academics are important, very important. They get your foot in the door. But by themselves, they are meaningless, quite meaningless. They got no value. So remember one thing, as I said earlier, innovation is the only vaccine. It is not the best vaccine. It is the only vaccine against corona and other pandemics. Could be climate change. It could, which is going to be worse. Climate change is going to be worse. It is going to dislocate millions and millions of people. Massive migrations will start taking place. They already started in a small way. Cyber terrorism, cyber security, internets stop functioning over there, thefts taking place, data being stolen over there. Many things are going to happen. So it is the only thing that's going to keep us alive. Second thing is Corona 19, COVID 19 is a pause button. We were living too fast. We had disconnected ourselves from ourselves. We were alienated from ourselves. We did not even know who we are. Now we are spending time with ourselves. We are now getting spiritually enlightened, becoming familiar with who am I, why am I here, where am I going. It is helping us to introspect and to reflect and to contemplate. It is helping us to become mortal. I think that's very, very important. Somewhere down the line, we have forgotten this, that we are mortal human beings. And lastly, of course, I think it's a It's a great return to humility. Adversity restores humility. Adversity restores humility. Adversity restores strength in character, strength of mind, and strength of thinking. I always have believed that there is something in sickness that breaks down the pride of man. I remember what Oscar Wilde once wrote. He said there are only two places where human beings do quality thinking. One is when he's in jail, when he was in jail, he was in jail for a long time, and in hospital. There's only two times when people really think about themselves and their life and what they have done, and if they have done enough. And lastly, I would like to share with you a small little fable which originated amongst the Sufi poets in Persia, poets at the time of Rumi. So there was this great monarch. A monarch is bigger than a king. He was a powerful king, and he was always worried about the situation around him. As you know, uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. So he called his wise men and he said, "Listen, I want you to invent one short sentence which I can emboss on my ring. So whenever I am very happy or I am down in the dumps, I will look at that ring and what is embossed on it and derive strength and inspiration from it." So they got into a huddle and they came back with the answer. The sentence was, "And this too shall pass. And this too shall pass." This is the temporary nature of the human condition. So this will pass, there's nothing to worry about it. So let us focus on the positive sides of COVID, develop those new capabilities which we have, and these are what Indus is all about. Indus is all about post COVID 19. This is why, under Sarojini's leadership, this school is ranked number one in India for the last 8 years. And once again, I'd like to thank each one of you for having spared your time to come to this town hall. And I will now hand over the baton to Sarojini to take the discussion forward. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.